The council chamber was large and cold. Monitors showed the entire galactic sector in real time. Ambassador sat at the center table with other leaders around him. They had ruled this region of space for 1,000 years without challenge. No species dared to oppose them. Then the sensors picked up something new. "Unidentified vessel approaching from Sector 7, reported the communication officer. His voice carried no alarm. They had seen many ships approach their territory. Most turned back, some tried to fight, all of them lost. Leaned forward in his chair. His skin was gray and smooth. His eyes were large and black like empty spaces. He had seen 1,000 negotiations. He had seen 1,000 surrenders. This would be no different. "Identify the species," he commanded. The officer worked at his station. Data streamed across his screen. His expression changed. He looked confused. "Sir, the readings are unclear. The ship is small, much smaller than our typical patrol vessels, but the technology signature is unfamiliar." Felt something new, curiosity. The humans had finally arrived. Earth had sent its first ambassador to the galactic community. The intelligence division had studied humanity for years. Primitive, quarrelsome, limited technology, but ambitious, very ambitious. The leader smiled. This would be entertaining. The USS Liberty cut through empty space like a knife through water. Captain Daniel Foster stood on the bridge of his ship. He was tall and broad-shouldered. His uniform was gray with blue markings. His face showed no fear, but inside his chest his heart beat hard. Around him his crew worked in quiet focus. Lieutenant Susan sat at the communications station. She had learned 17 alien languages before this mission. Her hands were steady on her keyboard. Beside her, Hayes monitored the ship systems from the engineering station. Every system worked perfectly. They had checked each one 100 times. Foster had been a soldier for 20 years. He had commanded ships in Earth's hardest wars. He had made decisions that cost lives, but this mission was different. This mission would change everything. The orders had come from Earth's government 6 months ago. Humanity had detected the Empire 2 years before that. For 2 years, the nations of Earth had argued about what to do. War, peace, hide. Finally, they agreed on one thing: send a message to the stars. Send a captain who could negotiate. Send a ship that could protect itself. They sent Daniel Foster. "Captain, we are being hailed," Susan said. "It is the command center. They want to know our intentions." Foster took a breath. "Tell them we come in peace. Tell them I request a meeting with their leadership." The message traveled through space. In the command center, listened to the human's voice. It was steady and calm. The human did not sound afraid. "Interesting," said to his council. "The primitive captain shows confidence, foolish confidence, but confidence nonetheless." One of the council members spoke up. Her name was Vexes. She was older and had seen more conflict than. "We should be careful. Unknown technology can be dangerous. We should not assume weakness based on appearance." Waved his hand. "They sent one ship, Vexes, one small ship to face the Empire. What threat could they possibly pose?" Vexes said nothing more, but doubt lived in her mind. The USS Liberty entered the neutral zone. This was space that belonged to no one. It was where civilizations met when they wanted to talk without showing weakness. Foster had chosen this meeting place carefully. The diplomatic vessel appeared on the sensors. It was massive, 3 times the size of the Liberty. Its hull was dark metal. Weapons were visible on every side. "Hold steady," Foster ordered. "No aggressive moves. Show them we are not a threat, but we are not afraid." The ship took position 500 kilometers away, close enough to talk, far enough to keep distance. Ambassador appeared on the screen. His face was emotionless. When he spoke, his words came through a translation computer. The computer converted language into English. "I am Ambassador of the Empire. I represent the highest authority in this sector. You are humans, yes, from the planet Earth. I am Captain Daniel Foster of Earth. I command the vessel USS Liberty. I have come to establish peace between our peoples." His expression did not change, but something in his eyes shifted. Amusement, perhaps, or contempt. "Earth has sent one ship to negotiate with the Empire. One small vessel to meet the power that controls 300 star systems. This shows either great courage or terrible foolishness. I have not yet decided which." Foster did not respond to the insult. The size of a ship does not measure the size of the commitment behind it. Earth takes this meeting very seriously. I am prepared to discuss peace, trade, and cooperation between our people. Cooperation, repeated. An interesting word. You understand that we have no need for anything Earth possesses. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your planet is small and poor. You have nothing to offer us but submission. This was the moment Foster had trained for. This was the moment that mattered. Then I will speak plainly, Foster said. Earth comes to you not as servants seeking protection. We come as a species that has learned to survive in a hard world. We have learned to be strong. We have learned to be smart. And we have learned to never accept slavery. Silence filled the channel. In the command center, stared at the screen. His council members exchanged looks. Vexazha leaned close to. He speaks with certainty. This human believes what he says. That is dangerous. It is foolish, replied, but doubt had entered his mind now. Foster continued. I request a formal meeting, face to face, with your leadership and mine. We can discuss what the future holds for our people. We can find a path forward that honors both of our civilizations. Stood up from his chair. He walked to the window of his command center and looked out at the stars. For 1,000 years, the Empire had been the greatest power in this region. Everything bowed before them. But this human had not bowed. Very well, said finally. We will meet. You will transport to the neutral platform with a small guard. Any weapon larger than a hand device will not be permitted. Do you understand? I understand, Foster replied. As the communication ended, Foster turned to his officers. Prepare the shuttle. I will meet with them. You have your orders. You know what to do if things go wrong. Susan looked at her captain. Sir, this is dangerous. We do not know what they want. Foster placed his hand on her shoulder. They want to see if we are afraid. We are not. That is what they need to understand. In the asteroid field, the USS Perseverance sat hidden. Commander Carter watched the star field before her. Her hands rested on the arms of her command chair. She had been a soldier since she was 18 years old. She had commanded ships for 15 years, but this mission was unlike anything she had experienced before. The Perseverance was not a large ship. She was built for speed and stealth, not for direct combat. Her hull was painted with a special coating that made her harder to detect on sensors. Her engines were designed to run cold, giving off minimal heat signature. She was invisible. Around the bridge, Carter's crew worked in silence. Nobody spoke unless necessary. They understood the importance of this moment. Lieutenant Porter sat at the weapons station. His eyes were focused on the screens before him, had trained his whole life to defend humanity. Now he waited for his moment to come. The communications officer received the signal from the Liberty. A simple message in code. Shuttle launched, stand by. Nodded to herself. Foster was making his move. The captain would meet with the ambassador on the neutral platform. Everything was proceeding according to plan. But plans could change quickly. I am picking up increased activity on the vessels, reported who worked at the sensor station. They are moving into a formation around the meeting point. 3 large warships are moving closer. Leaned forward. Are they searching for something? I cannot tell, Commander, but their behavior has changed. They seem more alert. Understood what was happening. The humans had shown confidence. They had challenged the way of thinking. Now they were searching their space to understand why a human captain would be so bold. The Perseverance was designed to be undetectable, but nothing was perfect. If they performed a deep sensor sweep, they might find her. The question was whether Foster could complete his mission before that happened. On the neutral platform, Captain Foster sat across from Ambassador. The platform was a gray metal structure built by traders long ago. It had been used for thousands of negotiations between species. The walls were smooth and cold. Nothing decorated the room. There was only a table and 2 chairs. Studied the human before him. Foster was smaller than expected, but he carried himself with the posture of a warrior. His eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail of the room. This was a man trained to notice everything. So, Captain Foster, you have traveled very far to meet with me. That shows courage or desperation. Which is it? Foster did not look away from the ambassador's black eyes. It shows necessity. Earth has existed in isolation for thousands of years, but we have grown as a civilization. We have developed the technology to reach the stars. Now we wish to know what awaits us out here. We wish to find peace with the species that inhabit this galaxy. Peace, said the word as though it tasted bad. Peace is what the weak offer to the strong. The Empire does not seek peace. We seek order. Order comes through strength. Foster did not argue. Then let me speak of strength. Earth is a harsh world. Our people have survived wars, disease, starvation, and natural disasters for millions of years. We have learned to be strong because we had to be. We have learned to adapt because survival demanded it. That is a kind of strength that no amount of technology can replace. Tilted his head slightly, and yet you came with one ship. I came with what was needed, Foster replied. Too many ships would seem threatening, too few would seem foolish. One ship says, I understand the power before me, but I believe we can talk as equals. Something flashed in its expression. It was brief, but Foster saw it. The ambassador found this human interesting. That was good. Interest was better than contempt. Back in the asteroid field, the situation was growing tense. The warships continued their search pattern. They were moving closer to the Perseverance's position. 2 minutes until they may detect us, said quietly. Should I wake the full complement, Commander? Made her decision. Begin bringing weapons systems online. Stay silent. I want every system ready to move at my command. Porter's hands moved over his station. The Perseverance's weapons came to life. Lasers powered up. Missile systems activated. The ship was ready to fight, though fighting was the last thing anyone wanted. Opened a secure channel to Captain Foster. She sent him a single message. Getting warm, prepare for option 2. Foster received the message on his personal communication device. He did not change his expression, but inside his mind raced. Option 2 meant the Perseverance would have to reveal herself soon. He leaned back in his chair and looked directly at. Ambassador, I have a question for you. When you studied Earth before this meeting, what did you find? Smiled. We found a primitive species, violent, quarrelsome, divided among many nations. You had nuclear weapons but no unified government. You were centuries behind us in technological advancement. We found a species that would one day be valuable as laborers or soldiers, but nothing more. Foster nodded slowly. You assumed that technology determines everything. You assumed that advanced weapons and advanced ships mean advanced wisdom. Is that correct? Is it not? Challenged. No, Foster said simply. It is not. Wisdom is not something you develop in laboratories. Wisdom comes from facing impossible challenges and learning to survive them. Wisdom comes from understanding that power without mercy is tyranny. Stood up from his chair abruptly. You speak with dangerous confidence, Captain. You should choose your words more carefully. The Empire has crushed species that were far more advanced than you. What makes you think you will escape that same fate? Foster remained sitting. He looked up at the standing ambassador. Because you are here talking to me instead of destroying me. If I were truly worthless, you would not waste your time. But I am not worthless, and some part of you knows this already. The communication device in Foster's pocket vibrated once. That was the signal. The Perseverance had to move. The sensors were about to find her. Foster stood slowly. I believe our meeting here has been valuable, Ambassador. I would like to continue these discussions, but first, I think your fleet needs to see something. His expression changed. What do you mean? Foster walked to the window. He pointed out into space toward the asteroid field. You sent one ship to face the human captain, Foster said. Did you never think to ask why I came with such confidence? Did you never wonder why humans would travel so far if we could not protect ourselves? In that moment, the USS Perseverance powered up its engines. The hidden ship emerged from the asteroid field like a ghost becoming solid. Her running lights activated. Her weapon systems showed active status on every sensor. The asteroid field erupted with alerts across the command center. In the Perseverance, Commander Carter transmitted a simple message across all channels. The humans have 2 ships, Empire, and we are prepared to defend what is ours. Stared out the window at the second ship. His face had gone pale. The fleet moved into defensive formation. Alarm bells rang through every warship. Officers shouted orders. Weapons systems locked onto the USS Perseverance. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire faced a threat. But the Perseverance did not attack. Commander Carter held her position. Her weapons remained charged but not fired. She understood the game they were playing. This was not a moment for violence. This was a moment for demonstration. On the command channel's voice filled with rage. Bring all weapons to bear on the second human vessel. Fire on my command. Wait, Foster's voice cut through the chaos. He was still inside the diplomatic chamber with, "Before you fire, let me explain why we sent exactly 2 ships, Ambassador." His hand moved toward his own communication device, but he hesitated. Something in Foster's voice made him pause. "Speak," the ambassador commanded. Foster took a breath. In Earth's history, we have learned many lessons about warfare and power. One of those lessons is simple. The side with superior numbers does not always win. The side with the strongest will wins. The side willing to sacrifice wins. The side that understands when to fight and when to negotiate wins. "You lecture me on warfare?" His voice was cold. "No," Foster said. "I lecture you on survival. Earth sent 1 ship to show respect. We sent 1 captain to stand before you and speak truth. That takes courage that your technology can never measure." Foster moved closer to the window. He pointed at the Perseverance. "We sent a 2nd ship because humans understand something your empire forgot. We understand that we are not just individuals. We are part of something larger than ourselves. That 2nd ship represents every human who will come after us. It represents our willingness to protect what matters. It represents our determination to survive." In the command center, Vexisha was watching everything. She understood what Foster was saying. She understood it in a way that, in his anger, could not. "Ambassador," she said quietly, "the human is correct. We have not faced a serious threat in so long that we have forgotten what courage looks like. That captain was willing to sit alone with you knowing his 2nd ship was hidden. He risked his life because he believed in his cause." His jaw clenched. "So what? We still have the power to destroy both ships. Power is all that matters." But even as he said the words, doubt filled his mind. On the diplomatic platform, Foster continued. "The Empire has conquered many species. Have any of them stood before you as I am standing now? Have any of them shown your own power back to you and refused to bow?" "Did not answer." "That is the difference," Foster said. "Humans do not accept dominance through fear. We accept only what we choose to accept. We will negotiate, we will cooperate, but we will never surrender our freedom." The ambassador looked at the human captain with new understanding. He had been wrong about many things. He had assumed that advanced technology meant everything. He had assumed that smaller populations meant weakness. He had assumed that a single ship meant humanity's desperation. He had been wrong. "What do you want?" asked finally. His voice was different now, less certain. "What do we want?" Foster smiled. "We want peace. We want trade. We want to join the galactic community as an equal. We want the chance to prove ourselves without being told we are lesser. That is all we want." Walked back to his seat, he sat down heavily. "And if I refuse?" "Then we will leave," Foster said. "We will take our ships and our people and we will find another way forward. The Empire is powerful, but it is not the only power in this galaxy. And humans have a gift for making friends with those willing to see us as equals." The threat was subtle but clear. Humanity would not be controlled or dismissed. Meanwhile, in the asteroid field, Commander Carter monitored the situation carefully. Her weapons remained ready. Porter had his finger near the firing control. They were a second away from violence if gave the order. But Foster had bought them time. Time for words, time for thinking. Opened a channel to his command center. "Stand down all weapons. Move the fleet to neutral status. I want continuous monitoring but no aggressive action." The orders spread through the ships. Weapons powered down. Fighters that had been preparing for launch returned to their hangars. The immediate crisis passed. Foster felt relief wash through him, but he did not show it on his face. "Good," Foster said. "Then perhaps we should discuss what cooperation between our peoples could look like." Gestured for Foster to sit again. "First, I want proof. You claim your ship carries weapons comparable to ours. Prove this to me." Foster nodded. He sent a command to the Perseverance. "Commander Carter, fire a demonstration round on the target asteroid I marked in Sector 9. In the asteroid field, Carter received the coordinates. She looked at Porter. He pressed the firing control. A laser beam shot out from the Perseverance. It traveled across space and struck the asteroid Foster had identified. The asteroid exploded in a burst of rocks and fire. The sensors registered the strike. Analysis came back quickly. The energy output was equivalent to their own weapon systems. The accuracy was precise. The power was real. In the command center, Officers stared at their screens in shock. Vexisha turned too. The human was telling the truth. Their weapons are not inferior, they are comparable to ours. And the ship itself demanded. Unknown, came the response. Their design is different enough that our normal analysis methods are less effective, but the weapons demonstration proves they have the capability. Looked at Foster across the table on the diplomatic platform. The ambassador waited patiently for this response. You came prepared for war, said finally. We came prepared for peace or war, Foster corrected. We hoped for peace. We prepared for the alternative. That is not weakness, ambassador. That is responsibility. The words hung in the air between them. Made a decision. Very well, Captain. Humanity has proven itself capable. The Empire will recognize your people as an independent species. We can discuss trade agreements and mutual defense. Foster extended his hand again, this time reached across the table and took it. The gesture was awkward but the meaning was clear. An agreement had been reached, not through conquest or submission, but through will and courage. As Foster left the diplomatic platform and returned to the Liberty, he understood what had just the high command chamber was a place of power and silence. Stood before the council and explained what had happened. The room listened without interruption. When he finished, the chamber erupted in argument. We should have destroyed them, one council member said. The Empire does not tolerate challenges. We would have lost ships in the process, Vexisha countered. I have studied the human weapons. They are not inferior to ours. A battle would have been costly. We have never shied away from costly battles, another voice shot back. Raised his hand. The chamber fell silent. He had led the Empire for 30 years. His word carried weight. The question before us is not whether we could have won a battle. The question is whether winning a battle would serve the Empire's interests. I say it would not. The council members waited for him to explain. For 1,000 years, we have assumed that any species that cannot match our technology is beneath us. We have conquered without thought because we believed ourselves superior. But this encounter with humanity has shown us something new. They have technology equal to ours, but that is not what frightened me. Paused, he chose his next words carefully. What frightened me was their willingness to stand firm. What frightened me was their courage in the face of power greater than their own. A species with that kind of determination is not something to destroy. It is something to understand. Vexisha nodded slowly. You believe they are a threat. I believe they are an unknown, said. And unknown is more dangerous than strength. Humans could become our greatest allies, or they could become our greatest rivals. We need to know which. The council debated through the cycle. Some argued for military preparation against the human threat. Others argued for immediate trade and alliance. The discussions grew heated. Voices rose, but eventually consensus emerged. The Empire would honor the agreement made on the diplomatic platform, but it would also watch humanity very carefully. Meanwhile, on the USS Liberty, Captain Foster met with his senior officers. The crew gathered in the briefing room. They had just received confirmation that the leadership had accepted the terms of the agreement. We did it, Susan said quietly. There was relief in her voice. She had been terrified during the entire mission, though she had hidden it well. We did, Foster agreed. But understand what just happened. We did not defeat the Empire. We did not outfight them. We won something harder. We won their respect. Hayes spoke from the engineering station. Sir, I have been thinking about what comes next. Earth needs to prepare. They are not the only species out here. If word spreads that humans are equals to the others may seek us out. Some may want to trade, others may want to fight. Foster nodded. That is correct. Earth will need a much larger fleet. We will need more ships, more weapons, more soldiers, but more importantly, we will need wisdom. We need to choose our path carefully. In the Perseverance, Commander Carter received similar orders. She was to return to Earth with a full report of the mission. The data she collected would be crucial for Earth's next steps. Sat in her command chair and thought about what had happened. 2 ships had changed everything. Not through the power of weapons, but through the message those weapons represented. Foster and Carter made one final joint transmission before separating their ships. Foster's voice came through the comm system. Commander Carter, I want to officially recognize the role of the Perseverance in this mission. Your presence gave me the power to speak with confidence. Your willingness to remain hidden, ready to fight if necessary, gave me the strength to negotiate. Humanity owes you a debt." Carter's response was brief. "We were just doing our duty, Captain, but I appreciate the acknowledgement. Let us make sure we use this opportunity well. Earth is counting on us." The two ships increased their separation and set their course for Earth. It would take time to travel home through the vast emptiness of space. During that time, both captains wrote their official reports. Foster's report was detailed and thoughtful. He wrote about the mindset. He explained how the Empire had become complacent through centuries of unopposed dominance. He described how showing courage had mattered more than showing strength. But he also wrote warnings. The Empire was not the only power out here. Earth was a young species entering a populated galaxy. There would be those who sought to dominate humans, and there would be those who sought to befriend them. "The greatest challenge for humanity will not be physical survival," Foster wrote. "It will be moral survival. We must remain true to ourselves even as we interact with species that think and act very differently. We must be strong enough to defend ourselves, but wise enough to know when defense is not the answer." Carter's report focused on tactical observations. She described the ships in detail. She analyzed their defensive patterns and weapon systems. She noted their apparent overconfidence and how that overconfidence could be exploited if war came. But she also made a recommendation that surprised many in Earth's government. "I recommend that we do not prepare for war with the Empire. Instead, we should prepare to be friends. The respect, strength, and honesty. If we continue to show both, we can build a lasting partnership. War would be unnecessary and would damage the progress Captain Foster has made." As the ships traveled through space, both commanders realized the same thing. The mission was only the beginning. Earth's relationship with the galaxy would shape the next 100 years of human history. Received a private message from Vex's Ha. She had been thinking about the humans as well. "Ambassador," her message began, "I have been reviewing the human transmission. There is something about their culture that concerns me. They speak of moral principles and honor. These are concepts the Empire has not prioritized for many generations. If humans spread these ideas through the galaxy, they could challenge the very foundation of our power structure." Read the message twice. Vex's Ha was right. Humanity represented a different way of thinking, a different way of being powerful. This could be dangerous to the way of life. But perhaps thought dangerous change was what the Empire needed. He composed a response. "Let us not resist what comes. Instead, let us learn from it. Perhaps humanity can teach us something we have forgotten. That would be worth more than 100 conquered worlds." Back on Earth, leaders watched the communications arriving from the starships. They read Foster's ray. The Earth came into view slowly. Blue and green and white floating in the darkness of space. For the crews of the Liberty and Perseverance, the sight was beautiful beyond words. They had left home 5 months ago. Now they were returning as heroes. Captain Daniel Foster stood on the bridge of the Liberty and watched his home planet grow larger. Around him, his crew was quiet. They understood the magnitude of what they had accomplished. They had met an alien empire. They had stood firm when faced with impossible odds. They had changed human history. The dock station above Earth sent its greeting signal. Hundreds of ships waited to escort the Liberty and Perseverance to their landing platforms. News of the mission had spread through every nation on Earth. Governments were waiting. Scientists were waiting. The people of Earth were waiting. But before the ships landed, there was one more thing Foster needed to do. He opened a secure channel to Commander Carter on the Perseverance. "Commander, I believe we should meet one final time before we face the world. There is a matter we should discuss privately." Carter agreed. Within the hour, both captains were sitting in Foster's conference room on the Liberty. Two humans who had just changed the course of history, sitting alone together. "What did you want to discuss, Captain?" Carter asked. Foster leaned back in his chair. He seemed tired. The mission had taken everything from him. "I wanted to tell you something that was not in my official report, something that only you need to know." Carter waited. She sensed that Foster was struggling with something. "During my final meeting with, I told him that humanity would never accept slavery or domination, that we would fight rather than bow, and that was true. Every word was true. But there was something I did not tell him." "What was that?" Carter asked. "That we were terrified," Foster said simply. Every moment I sat across from that ambassador, I was terrified. Terrified that he would see through our confidence and realize we were bluffing. Terrified that your ship would be discovered too early. Terrified that our weapons were not as good as we hoped. Terrified that I would make a mistake and get us all killed. Carter nodded slowly. I was terrified as well. During those hours in the asteroid field, waiting for the sensors to find us, I was terrified that my crew would be destroyed because of my command. But you did not let that terror control you, Foster said. Neither did I. That is what separates humans from many other species. We feel fear, but we do not surrender to it. Fear is information. It tells us something matters. It tells us the stakes are high. But we do not let fear paralyze us. Foster stood and walked to the window. He looked out at Earth spinning slowly below them. They have forgotten something. They have power, but they have lost something else. They have lost the hunger. They have lost the desperation that comes from genuine struggle. Humans have not lost that. That is our greatest advantage. Carter joined him at the window. What happens now, Captain? What does the future hold? Now we face the world, Foster said. Now we answer questions from governments and scientists and ordinary people who want to know what it was like to meet an alien empire. Now we prepare Earth for its place in a galactic community. Now we begin the real work. As the Liberty descended through Earth's atmosphere, the ship began to heat. The friction of the air created a brilliant light around the vessel. Inside the bridge, the crew watched the data streams showing their descent. They were home. The landing was perfect. The Liberty touched down on the space station with barely a vibration. As the engines shut down, Foster took a moment to breathe. On the comm system, the station commander's voice came through. Welcome home, Captain Foster. Welcome home to all of you. Your families are here. Your nations are here. The entire world is here waiting to greet you. You have done humanity proud. Foster did not know what to say to that. He had not done this mission for praise or recognition. He had done it because the choice was clear. Humanity's future depended on it. When Foster walked off the Liberty, he was met by a crowd. Thousands of people were there to greet the crew. Cameras flashed. People cheered. Foster walked through the crowds with his head up. But inside, he felt something different from joy. He felt responsibility. He made his way to the central briefing room where governments and scientists waited to hear his full report. For hours, he answered questions about their technology, about their intentions. The information was recorded and analyzed and prepared for the world. Commander Carter finished her own briefing at almost the same time. She and Foster were brought together for a joint press conference. The room was packed with journalists and officials from every nation on Earth. A journalist stood up and asked the question that everyone wanted to know. Captain Foster, why did you send only 2 ships? Why not send more? Why take such a risk? Foster answered carefully. Because more ships would have communicated the wrong message. Too many ships would have said that humanity was weak and desperate. Too few would have been foolish. 2 ships said something very specific. They said that we understand the universe is dangerous, but we are not afraid. They said that we respect the power before us, but we respect ourselves more. Another journalist asked Carter, Commander, were you prepared to fight the entire fleet? Carter did not hesitate. No, we could not have won such a battle. Our weapons were comparable, but they had more ships. What we were prepared to do was die fighting rather than accept slavery. Sometimes that willingness is more powerful than any amount of firepower. The press conference lasted until evening. By the time it ended, the entire world knew the truth. Humanity was no longer alone, and humanity had proven itself worthy of standing among the stars. In the days that followed, Foster and Carter were treated like heroes. Streets were named after them, schools were named after their ships, statues were built, but Foster found that the attention made him uncomfortable. 2 weeks after his return, Foster attended a private dinner at the highest level of Earth's government. The leaders wanted to honor him and discuss what came next. As they ate, the president leaned over to Foster. Captain, historians will study what you did for thousands of years. You have changed the course of human civilization. How does that make you feel? Foster set down his fork. He thought about the moment on the diplomatic platform when he had revealed the Perseverance. He thought about the look on his face when he realized that humans could not be dismissed. It makes me feel that we have a long road ahead of us, Foster said. One meeting with one species does not mean humanity is safe. There are other species out there. Some may be friendly. Some may be hostile. We have bought ourselves time to prepare, but we cannot rest on what we have accomplished." The president nodded. "What do you recommend?" "I recommend that we build more ships, many more. I recommend that we explore the galaxy carefully. I recommend that we form alliances with species that share our values. And I recommend that we never forget what we learned in that meeting, that courage will matter as much as weapons and technology." Foster looked directly at the president. "But most of all, I recommend that we never lose our humanity. The universe is vast and cold and dangerous. There will be pressure to change who we are to survive. There will be pressure to become harder, colder, more willing to compromise our values for power. We must resist that pressure. Our humanity is our greatest strength." The president raised her glass. "To Captain Foster, to Commander Carter, to the USS Liberty and USS Perseverance, and to humanity's new place in the stars." Everyone in the room raised their glasses. Foster looked out the window of the government building. Far above, he could see the stars beginning to appear as night fell over Earth. Out there, somewhere in that vast darkness, and beyond them were countless other species. Some of them would become friends, some of them would become enemies. But humanity was no longer afraid. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were made of. They had shown courage. They had shown will. They had shown that even the smallest voice could be heard if spoken with enough conviction. The universe would never be the same. And neither would humanity. Ports and Carter's reports. They studied the data about the Empire and made plans for the future. One thing was certain: humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and the universe would never be the same. Two ships had changed the course of human history, not through overwhelming force or superior numbers, but through the willingness to stand firm when everything depended on it. The USS Liberty and USS Perseverance moved together toward home. Behind them, the fleet did not follow. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire had met a species it could not dismiss. Foster extended his hand in the human gesture of peace. "Now, Ambassador, shall we continue our discussion?" The shuttle launched from the Liberty. As it moved toward the diplomatic platform, no one on the ship knew that a second vessel was watching from the asteroid field. The USS Perseverance sat in silence, waiting. Her weapons were locked and ready. The game had begun.